Grayson has done a multitude of things while here at Augusta Prep. He was Maurice, Belle's father, in the middle school play Beauty and the Beast, where he screamed dramatically from a dungeon. Moving into the upper school, he remained on the stage, but he broke records in World Records Club. He fought freely in the Free Thinkers Club. And most recently, he brought awareness to all of the dangers of rabies. Please welcome to the stage, Grayson Judd.
I'd like to begin my speech today by taking us all on a journey back in time. Now the year is 2008, and we meet this young boy who's really got a lot going for him. He's smart, he's well liked, he excels in his homeschool bowling league. However, there's one thing about this kid. He's a bit stout, but hey, there's just more of him to love. This kid loves to write poetry. He's passionate about it. But there's only one problem. He won't share it with anyone. He will not share his poems with anybody. Finally, one day, he writes his masterpiece and he thinks, this is the poem I will unveil to the world. So he goes downstairs to his older brother. Let's call this brother Jerry Judd. That's a good name. That's a good name for a brother. And he says, hey, I got this poem I want to show you. And he begins. And no doubt his hands are shaking a little bit. His palms are perspiring. And he begins. And he says, now is the time to make a change, to shake things up and rearrange. It's what we got to do. Forget the past, bring on the new, live your dreams and make them true. Because now is the time. And he stops and he expects to hear shouts of praise and applause, maybe some snapping like you hear in a cafe somewhere when his poem is finished. But doesn't hear any of that. All he hears is an eerie silence, followed shortly by a dream-crushing laughter from his older brother. Devastated, he runs up to his room. Out of frustration, he crumples up his paper, and he cries about it for a few hours. Now, why am I telling you this story? It's because this kid was me, and that older brother, that evil villain character in the story, that was my older brother, Harry. And Harry, no hard feelings, man. I love you. But this poem shows that even at a young age, I had this realization of this powerful, mysterious, ominous, yet kind of exciting concept in this world. And this concept was change. Now, many of us feel that change is inevitable. You know, change is part of life. At some point, you have to grow up. Maybe you go to college, you get a career, you get a family, you settle down. Maybe you feel like those changes are things you can't avoid in life. But the greatest changes that will ever influence you or the world around you are changes that you are the catalyst for. Changes that you create. And undoubtedly, the greatest changes in history are the ones that are written about. They're the people on the pages in the textbook. They're the people we aspire to be like. So wherever you are today, whether you want to make a change that's big or you want to make a change that's small, like a personal New Year's resolution, I've identified the 3 keys to any successful change. So if you're live tweeting this, you can go ahead and send that out. The 3 keys to successful change is the title of my speech. So let's begin. The day is The day is August 28th, 1963. Today is March, yes. Today is August 28th, 1963. And an estimated 250,000 men, women, and children of all different kinds of races gathered at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial to hear the words of one man. These words are simple, yet powerful. And within these words is contained the first key to any successful change. And undoubtedly, these words change the course of history. What are these words? I have a dream. So this is the first key to any successful change. You must have a dream. You must have a vision. Now, what is a vision? A vision is identifying something that you don't like, something that you're not happy with, but it doesn't just stop there. That's a criticism. Many people can say, hey, I don't like that, and they can complain about it. But that's not what a vision is. A vision sees what you're not happy with, and it goes towards the end result. It sees the end result. It sees what that thing can become. It sees the final product. And this is what a vision is. It's not a criticism. And a vision is fully comprehensive, which means that it addresses a pattern and not a problem. Many people Maybe you have a list of 99 problems, okay, people? And you go through your list one by one, and you're crossing off your problems, you're solving this, you're solving that. But if you never address the pattern which creates the problem, you get in a never-ending cycle of trying to constantly fix problems. So, your your vision is not a criticism, and it addresses a pattern and not a problem. Finally, your vision needs to be something you're passionate about. Hashtag Harry Judd speech from last year. Hashtag Andrew Smith speech from this year. It needs to be something that you'll lie awake at night thinking about. How am I possibly going to accomplish this? And it needs to be something that you're willing to make sacrifices to get. Sacrifices in your time and your talent, things, your ability, and your treasure, which means like your money, So that's what a vision is. And that's what MLK got up there and he presented that day. He didn't get up there and he didn't complain about the situation. He didn't criticize the situation. He didn't say, man, what the white man did to Rose on the bus, that wasn't right. He didn't get up there and say that. He didn't just get up there and say, you know what, there's a problem. Segregation in bathrooms and water fountains, having separate bathrooms for white and black people, that's wrong. We should address that. No, he didn't limit himself to just a problem, right? He got up there, he addressed a pattern. Right? He got up there and he laid out a foundational vision for the civil rights movement. He got up there and he said, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and I mean all men, are created equal. I have a dream that one day little black boys and little black girls will hold hands with little white boys and little white girls as brothers and sisters. I have a dream that one day we all can come together and live out the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. And where are we today? A mere 40 years later, we have an African American as our president. That's change. That's lasting change. That's successful change. And it all started with a vision. So, you've had your vision. You made your course of action. You've been walking it out day by day. You're feeling pretty good, right? You're like, hey, man, I got a groove going. I'm feeling pretty good. All of a sudden, bam, life hits you right in the face. And you're like, what am I going to do? You feel stuck. You feel lost. You don't know what you're doing. That initial excitement you had for your vision, it's long gone. And you're tired. You're weary. This reminds me of one of the greatest changes, in my opinion, in all of human history, and one that probably affects us the most, which is the American Revolution. Now, in this scenario, it started off with a bang, right? On July 4th of 1776, people are shouting in the streets. They're going crazy. I'm not sure if they had fireworks back then, but if they did, they'd be shooting them off. They'd be throwing firecrackers at each other, the whole thing. They'd be celebrating. But this is not the case in the winter of 1777. No. And this time, the American Continental Army finds themselves trapped in a small camp, slowly freezing to death. All the while watching those hopes and that joy and those promises of liberty slowly fade away. This, my friends, is Valley Forge. And I promise you, this is the sad truth, but I promise you that any change that you embark upon, any change that you go out to create, you're going to come across a Valley Forge. You're going to come across a tough time. And in these times, the natural thing to do is to question the vision. No doubt, there's talks in the camp at this time. Man, why are we even fighting this war? Man, I don't want to be here. Was Britain really that bad as a ruler? One guy over in the corner is like, hey man, I don't even know what taxation without representation is. Why the heck am I here? See, these are the talks that are going on in the camp. So what do you do in this situation? Does Washington throw in the towel? Does the American Army give up? No, they don't. And they show us the second key to any successful change, which is you got to stick with it. You got to keep going. You got to persevere. And I know this sounds cliche. You're saying, Grayson, if I really get to this point with my change, well, how is a cliche ever going to help me? And you're right. It's not going to help you. It's not going to do anything for you. But I'll give you a piece of advice here. The easiest way to stick with your vision, easiest way to stay on track with your goal, is to get a team. Now, your team of people, it needs to have people that are holding you accountable to your vision and give you strengths in your areas of weakness. They hold you accountable to your vision. So the days when it's tough, the days when it's not easy, the days when that vision that you have in the future is getting a little hazy, they say, hey, lift your head up. There's a bigger prize ahead. You got to keep going. You got to stick with it. The end is worth it. It's worth it. So, I mean, this is what happened in the American Revolution. The founding fathers committed themselves to the same resolves in the Declaration of Independence when they all signed their John Hancock on that document. Right? This is what happened when French came to the aid of America when we weren't strong enough to beat the British by ourselves. And as a result, the change occurred. We won the American Revolution. Here we are today. Right? If that had never happened, we'd all probably have some weird accents and be serving some king. Right? That's not fun. I want to live here. But the key to this point, oh man, I'm back to vision. How did I do that? You got to remind me if I'm doing this stuff, okay? So you got to stick with it. That's fun. You got to stick with it. You got to keep going. And the easiest way to do that is with a team. Okay? We got that? We good? Next. So, you stuck with it. You had your vision. You saw the future, and you've been walking towards it. Slowly but surely, slowly but surely. Oh, bump in the road. You jump to the side. You loop, you do it. You keep going. Okay? So you make it through. You make it through. And you finally get to this point where you can say, Mama, I made it. Mama, I did it. And your change has become official. Facebook official. Your change has become official, people. So what do you do in this situation? When your vision has become a reality, the next step and the final point for any successful change is this. You don't look back. Now, what if right after the American Revolution, people had crowned George Washington as king? Right? All the change would have happened. The vision would have been there. They would have stuck with it day in and day out, day in and day out, but it wouldn't have lasted. It would have all been in vain, and it wouldn't have been successful. So, when your vision for the future has become your reality, people, this is the key to this point right here. It needs to become your only reality. The old former way of doing things, the old former lifeless condition, the one you were unhappy with, the state of lower existence, it's dead. You have to see it as dead. You can't let any part of it remain. Because if it remains in the back of your mind, eventually, bit by bit, it will seep in and it will soon become your reality once again. This is why so many people who break free of addictions or break free of bad habits, they relapse. It's because they never fully identified themselves with a new person. They never fully identified themselves with a new being. So, once you get to this point, you can't look back. And that's how change lasts. That's how change perseveres. So, why am I telling you all this? It's because at one point when I was in the 6th grade, I wrote a poem about change. No, it's not that. It's because that person who wrote that poem one day had a realization. And let's just call him Chubby Grayson. So, Chubby Grayson one day, an old friend of mine, people, don't laugh at him, he's cute. Chubby Grayson one day is doing one of the most painful exercises he's ever done in his life. So don't laugh at this. You laughed at his face, but you can't laugh at this, okay? It's mandatory exercise that his sister Molly is making him do. And all it is walking up a hill next to his house, okay? But people, this hill felt like Mount Everest. It's really not that large. But to me, it seemed never ending. And I'm heaving and hoeing, I'm all red in the face, and I'm pouring sweat. And suddenly, I had this vision. And it's not one of those hopeful, bright visions that I talked about earlier. It's not one of those. No. This vision is me, older, much wiser, and much bigger. And I'm standing on a scale, and I'm surrounded by other obese people. And there's digital numbers next to my face. And where am I standing? I'm standing on the reality TV show, The Biggest Loser. And anybody in this situation, or especially that age, would do naturally what I started doing. So I immediately broke down crying. And I was an emotional kid at the time. So my sister Molly catches up to me. She said, Grayson, why are you crying? I said, Molly, I don't want to be on The Biggest Loser. She said, calm down. No one's forcing you on The Biggest Loser here. And in that moment, I saw what my life would be like if I kept on the same path, if I kept walking on the same trail, and I ran in the opposite direction. Well, I didn't run it. Still, I was pretty big at the time. I formed this vision of what I did want my life to look like. I saw a fit Grayson, one that was happy with his weight, one that was secure in himself. So what did I do? I had this vision, so I formed a plan. I surrounded myself with a team of people who would hold me accountable to my vision. Team lead from the Y. I joined the Y. I had my family pushing me along every step of the way. I exercised regularly. Guys, I didn't eat flour or sugar for nearly a year. You know how tough that is? Props to gluten-free people, because it's hard, okay? And So I stuck with it through the hard times, through all the valley forges that I encountered. Because there was days where I said, you know what, Chubby Grayson wasn't so bad. You know, he wasn't so bad. But, I had my team around me that pointed my eyes to the vision and said, hey, the end result is going to be worth it. And where do I stand today? By no means am I the poster child for fitness. I don't have a six-pack. I'm not Joey Lawrence. And I'll never be on the cover of Men's Fitness, okay, people? But I stand here in the average weight group for my height, which is a victory for me because I used to dwell in the morbidly obese category. So I made a change. And this will not be the only change that I make in my life. I encourage you that if all the changes you make in your life are about yourself, that's a sad existence. That's a sad life. From now on, I'm looking to change the world. That's what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing, is going after changes for other people, helping other people as much as I can. Because that's a worthwhile life. That's something meaningful. Besides, that's not it. I'm not supposed to be talking about that right now. That's for another day. That's for another lesson, kiddos. So that's what I'll be pursuing for the rest of my life. And today, I want to leave you encouraged. Find something you want to change. Find something you're passionate about changing and go after it. And don't let anybody stop you, okay? And with the final words of encouragement, I'd like to end with a poem from an old friend of mine, a friend who's no longer with us, happily. And he's dead and he's in the past, but we have some fond memories of him. And his name is Chubby Grayson. So this is a poem that I wrote that I crumpled up. There's one that I wrote about my homeschool bowling league. Anyway, this poem says this. Now is the time to make a change, to shake things up and rearrange. It's what we got to do. Forget the past, bring on the new. Live your dreams and make them true. Because now is the time. Thank you.